For decades, young people were told one thing: go to college, get a degree, get a good job, and everything will work out. But now millions of people are looking at their student loans, their rent, their wages, and their degree, and asking one uncomfortable question. Did I just get scammed? Not because education is useless. Not because learning is bad. But because the price of the promise got so high, the promise itself started to break. The original college deal sounded simple. You invest a few years. You get educated. You graduate. You earn more money. You move up in life. And for a long time, that deal made sense for a lot of people. A college degree became the golden ticket. Parents pushed it. Schools promoted it. Employers required it. Society treated it like the only responsible path. So by the time Generation Z and Millennials got old enough, college was not presented as one option. It was presented as the option. That matters because when something is presented as the only responsible path, people stop treating it like a purchase. They treat it like a toll booth. You do not ask whether the bridge is fairly priced when everyone says the bridge is the only way across. You just pay. Or more often, you borrow. And that is how a decision that should involve calm math starts feeling like a moral test. If you hesitate, people ask what is wrong with you. If you ask about the price, they say you are thinking too small. If you ask whether the degree actually leads to the job, they say you are being negative. So the student walks in already half convinced that questioning the deal means questioning their own future. But then the price changed. Tuition rose. Fees rose. Housing rose. Textbooks somehow became luxury items. And the whole college experience started costing more than many families could realistically afford. So instead of college being a stepping stone, it became a giant financial wall. And this is where the trap begins, because students are not just buying classes. They are buying access to a future they were told they needed. And the weird part is that the price is often hidden until the student is already emotionally committed. First comes the campus tour. Then the smiling brochure. Then the acceptance letter. Then the hoodie, the dorm photos, the family excitement, the feeling that your life is finally starting. Only after that does the real bill start getting serious. By then, backing out does not feel like a financial decision. It feels like failure. It feels like disappointing your parents. It feels like falling behind while everyone else moves forward. That emotional pressure is part of why the bill can grow so large without the whole system stopping. Most 18-year-olds cannot afford college up front. So the system offers a solution: loans. And on paper, loans make college possible, but emotionally it creates something weird. A teenager who has never bought a house, never made a full-time salary, and maybe never paid rent is suddenly asked to sign for tens of thousands of dollars. And because everyone around them says, that is just what you do, the debt starts to feel normal. That is the dangerous part. The scam feeling does not come from borrowing money. It comes from being told not borrowing might ruin your future. And student loans are especially strange because the normal instincts people use around debt get turned off. If an 18-year-old tried to borrow that much money for a car, everyone would panic. If they tried to borrow that much money to start a business, people would call it risky. If they tried to borrow that much money for almost anything else, adults would demand spreadsheets, income projections, backup plans, and a very clear reason. But when the word college is attached, the same debt gets treated like personal development. It becomes good debt. It becomes an investment. And sometimes it is. But an investment is still supposed to be evaluated. You are supposed to ask what it costs, what it returns, how long it takes, and what happens if the return is lower than promised. Too many students were encouraged to sign first and understand later. College also started becoming a paywall for jobs. A lot of jobs began requiring degrees even when the actual work did not always need one. So students were not just paying for education. They were paying for permission to apply. That is why college can feel unfair. Because the degree becomes less like a learning tool and more like a ticket you need just to enter the building. And if everyone needs the ticket becomes less special. This is one of the biggest reasons people feel tricked. The degree was sold as a way to stand out. Then the job market quietly changed, and the degree became the minimum password. So now you can spend years and tens of thousands of dollars just to reach the same starting line everyone else is standing on. That does not mean the degree has no value. It means the value changed. Instead of being a ladder by itself, it became an entry fee into a crowded room. And once you are in that room, you still have to compete on experience, location, internships, social network, interviewing, portfolio, timing, and luck. Then students graduate and hit the next problem. The job market does not always match the brochure. Some degrees lead to strong careers. Some absolutely do. But other students graduate into low starting wages, unpaid internships, unstable work, or jobs that still ask for experience they do not have. So now the student has the debt of an adult, but the income of someone still trying to get started. That gap is where the anger comes from, because the brochure did not usually show the awkward middle. It showed the smiling graduate. It showed the bright career. It showed the proud family photo. It did not show the person refreshing job boards at midnight while the loan payment email sits unopened. It did not show the graduate taking a job that does not require the degree just to keep money coming in. It did not show the first apartment eating half the paycheck, or the car repair that turns the monthly budget into a crime scene, and it definitely did not show the shame. The shame is important. Because when the promise fails, people often blame themselves before they blame the deal. They think they chose wrong, studied wrong, networked wrong, applied wrong, lived wrong. Sometimes personal choices matter. Of course they do. But when millions of people end up asking the same question, it is probably not just millions of individual character flaws. And the tuition bill is not even the full story. There are hidden costs everywhere. Rent near campus, food, parking passes, textbooks, lab fees, technology fees, graduation fees, application fees. College is one of the only places where you can pay thousands of dollars and then still get charged extra to prove you paid thousands of dollars. And every little fee teaches the same lesson. The sticker price was not the whole price. The financial aid letter was not the whole price. The loan estimate was not the whole price. There is always another line item. Maybe it is a required online homework code. Maybe it is a lab kit. Maybe it is software. Maybe it is a parking permit for a lot that still somehow has no parking. Each one feels small compared with tuition, so people wave it away. But that is exactly how the pile grows. Not one dramatic charge. 100 annoying ones. Another reason college feels like a scam is the pressure. Young people are told that if they do not go, they are lazy. If they go to community college, they are behind. If they choose a trade, they are settling. If they take a gap year, they are lost. If they pick the wrong major, it is their fault. So the system pressures students into making huge financial decisions, then blames them if the math does not work. And the pressure comes from every direction at once. Parents are scared their kid will fall behind. Schools want successful placement numbers. Colleges want enrollment. Employers want easy filters. Politicians praise education without always fixing the price. And students are stuck in the middle, trying to make a decision that can follow them for decades, at the exact age when they are still figuring out who they are. That is not a normal consumer choice. That is a life script wrapped around a loan contract. So is college actually a scam? Not exactly. For doctors, nurses, engineers, lawyers, accountants, teachers, and many technical careers, college can still be necessary and valuable. And there are students who should absolutely go. There are students who know the profession they want, understand the requirements, compare schools, limit debt, choose strong programs, and graduate into careers where the numbers make sense. That is not the problem. The problem is the default setting. The problem is acting like the same expensive path fits the undecided freshman, the future surgeon, the future teacher, the artist, the programmer, the kid who really needs a gap year, and the student who would be better served by community college first. The problem is not education. The problem is selling every student the same expensive path without being honest about the price, the risk, and the outcome. College is not automatically a scam, but blindly buying a degree with massive debt and no plan can become a trap. The better question is not, should everyone skip college? the better question is this: what is the return on the investment? Before taking on debt, students should ask what job this degree leads to, what that job actually pays, how much debt they will have, whether they can start at community college, whether they can work while studying, whether there are cheaper paths, and whether a license, certificate, apprenticeship, or trade gets them there faster. They should also ask a colder question: if this plan goes badly, what happens? Not because you should expect failure, because adult decisions need backup plans. What if you switch majors? What if the program is weaker than advertised? What if the job market is crowded? What if you need to move? What if you graduate and the first job pays less than expected? The old advice often treated college like a magic escalator: step on, ride up, arrive at a better life. But the new version needs a map. It needs price comparison. It needs outcome data. It needs a realistic debt ceiling. It needs someone in the room willing to say, this school is too expensive for that outcome, because the new rule is simple. Do not buy the dream. Calculate the deal. College feels like a scam because the old promise was simple: get the degree, get the life. But the new reality is more complicated. A degree can still open doors, but debt can close them. And the real trap is not learning. The real trap is paying life-changing money for a path you were never taught how to evaluate. So maybe the question is not, is college worth it? Maybe the real question is, worth it for who, at what price, and for what outcome?